Hello and welcome to Crossfire, the show that dives into the heart of global conflicts, where nations collide, alliances shift, and lives hang in the balance. On tonight's show, we tell you about a Russian fighting vehicle that looks like it just walked out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Also on the show, a study suggests that China's Type 055 destroyer can successfully fend off an entire US naval fleet. Stay tuned as we break down these critical developments and explore their impact on the future of global power and security. In the ongoing battle for eastern Ukraine, a strange sight has caught global attention. A Russian fighting vehicle that looks like it just walked out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Spiked bristles, long wavy hair, and a rusted armored body. This bizarre modification isn't just for show. It's Russia's latest attempt to counter Ukraine's rapidly evolving drone warfare. Take a look at our next report.
On the war-torn front lines of eastern Ukraine, Russian state TV recently broadcasted footage of an old BMP-1 fighting vehicle, transformed into what looks like a mobile hedgehog. With crude metal sheets, thick bristles poking out of its sides, and curly steel wires draping over its back, the vehicle appears to be a desperate, makeshift defense against one of modern warfare's deadliest threats, FPV, or first-person view drones. The modifications, first seen near Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk region, resemble crude cope cages, a term for makeshift armor that gained infamy in the early days of the war. But experts say the broom-like bristles and hair-like strands serve a specific purpose, forcing FPV drones to detonate prematurely before reaching their targets. Both Ukraine and Russia have been locked in a drone warfare cat-and-mouse game. In the early months of the war, cheap consumer drones proved devastating against heavy armor. But as electronic warfare systems grew stronger, jamming and knocking out an estimated 75% of drones, fighters on both sides have turned to fiber optic-controlled drones that are immune to electronic disruption. Unlike traditional radio-controlled drones, fiber optic drones remain connected through a physical cable, making them impossible to jam, though their range remains limited. The hairy BMP may be Russia's latest response to the growing threat. Ridiculed for its absurd design, but potentially effective in battle, the hairy BMP-1 is yet another example of how the war in Ukraine is constantly reshaping modern combat. As each side innovates, the battlefield is becoming a high-stakes experiment, where low-tech defense go up against cutting-edge drones in a war unlike any seen before.
A Chinese war game simulation has sparked global debate, showcasing a future battlefield where unmanned technology could disrupt the entire balance of naval power. The study suggests that China's Type 055 destroyer, supported by a fleet of drones and unmanned boats, could successfully fend off an entire US naval fleet. So how does China's so-called kill web work? Take a look at our next report.
One warrior against 8. It sounds like a scene from a Bruce Lee movie. But in a recent military simulation, Chinese researchers put this theory to the test in naval warfare. The battlefield, the Western Pacific, just east of Taiwan. China's formidable Type 055 destroyer, a warship among the world's largest, stood against a US fleet of 8 Arleigh-Burke-class destroyers. But China wasn't fighting alone. Enter the unmanned kill web. A network of drones and unmanned boats designed to change the face of maritime conflict. 2 unmanned motherships were deployed, releasing 32 drones and 14 unmanned boats. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the US fleet launched a barrage of 32 Tomahawk and LRASM anti-ship missiles, each costing over $3 million. The result? A coordinated defense effort by the unmanned platforms and the Type 055 intercepting the missiles while remaining fully operational. According to an AI expert, China's kill web enables quick and precise strikes, offering a cost-effective combat advantage. The concept? Swarming enemy forces with large numbers of unmanned weapons that can communicate in real time, forming a lethal and resilient network. Ironically, the US was the first to propose a similar tactic. The Pentagon's Replicator initiative, announced in 2023, aimed to flood the battlefield with low-cost drones in a potential Taiwan conflict. US Indo-Pacific Commander Admiral Samuel Paparo even suggested using drones to turn the Taiwan Strait into an unmanned hellscape. But recent reports suggest that logistical challenges and China's vast drone production capacity have cast doubt on the US plan. While advanced, these systems aren't exactly cheap. Each Chinese unmanned boat can carry air defense missiles priced between $410,000 to $1.09 million, cheaper than US equivalents, but still a significant investment. The simulation estimated that intercepting 32 US anti-ship missiles would cost between 160 to 270 million yuan, depending on risk tolerance. China's growing dominance in drone and ship production is a major factor. The country manufactures 70% of the world's drones, and its shipbuilding capacity dwarfs that of the US. At last year's China Air Show, military contractors showcased advanced unmanned systems from vertical missile launching ships to drones with intercontinental range. While this was just a simulation, it highlights a new era of warfare. One where autonomous weapons and AI-driven tactics could redefine military power. Could China's kill web give it the upper hand in a future naval confrontation? And if so, how will the US respond? One thing is certain, the battlefield of tomorrow won't just be manned, it will be unmanned.
Things are heating up once again in the South China Sea, with tensions between China and the Philippines reaching a new high. China's military is ramping up patrols around the contested Scarborough Shoal, an area at the heart of the conflict. The stakes are rising and the situation is far from simple. Let's break down what's happening and why the South China Sea is still one of the most disputed regions in the world.
Tensions in the South China Sea are escalating yet again. The Chinese military has launched combat readiness patrols around the hotly disputed Scarborough Shoal, an area at the heart of an ongoing conflict with the Philippines. China's People's Liberation Army Southern Theater Command announced that naval and air patrols around Scarborough, what China calls Zhuangyan Island, have intensified since January. Beijing claims this is about safeguarding sovereignty, but Manila is calling it aggressive and coercive. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has demanded that China respect Philippine sovereign rights in the West Philippine Sea, the name Manila uses for South China Sea waters inside its EEZ. The Philippines has repeatedly protested what it calls China's illegal presence and operations at the shoal. Scarborough Shoal is just one of several flashpoints between Manila and Beijing. Other contested areas include the Second Thomas Shoal and Sabina Shoal, where similar Chinese maneuvers have triggered diplomatic outrage. Meanwhile, another sore point, the US military's Typhoon missile system. Since April, Washington has stationed the system in northern Philippines, a move Beijing sees as a direct provocation, covering not just the South China Sea but the Taiwan Strait as well. China's military is also making it clear that its patrols aren't just about flexing naval power. A state-affiliated Chinese broadcaster says PLA warplanes, including fighter jets, bombers, and transport aircraft, are now operating in a more coordinated and systematized manner over the South China Sea. So, where is this heading? Will Manila and its allies push back harder? Will Beijing step up its show of force? One thing is for sure. The South China Sea remains one of the most contested waters in the world, and the stakes have never been higher.
Thank you for watching Crossfire on India Today Global. You can catch the next episode tomorrow.